Good afternoon, folks, and thank you for joining us for this session with Master Storyteller Alton Chung. Alton Chung is a Japanese-Korean storyteller who grew up surrounded by the stories and the superstitions and the magic of the Hawaiian Islands. This upbringing gives Alton a unique perspective when telling cultural tales and personal stories about growing up in Hawaii, about the Japanese-American experience during World War II, about plantation days in Hawaii, the immigration of Chinese into the United States, Asian folktales, Hawaiian legends, and, of course, ghost stories. Alton has been a featured teller at the Timpanogos National Storytelling Festival and at international storytelling festivals in the Cayman Islands, in Singapore, Vietnam, India, and Thailand. He is also a former chairman of the board of directors of the National Storytelling Network, the national organization for U.S. storytellers. Today, we'll hear two stories from Alton about Minoru Teruya and Takejiro Higa, and then we'll have time to ask questions about Alton's craft, about these particular stories, and anything else that may be on your mind after hearing Alton last night at the Nige Block Party and again today. So thank you so much. Enjoy these stories, and we'll see you in a little bit.
Enzore, Irishai, Hellemai. Welcome. So very glad you understand Okinawa and Japanese Hawaiian English. I come from Okinawa many years ago. Not go back, not even once. Now I go back. See, passport. Oh, no, not going back for permanently, just going back for visit. Want to pay respects to grandfather's death. Oh, grandfather, great thinker. You know what he said to me before I come Hawaii? Remember Ushi. That's me. Ushi ui unten. Haro. Always find out, he said to me, if stranger, Okinawan or not Okinawan. Very good advice. But grandfather, he not know. Maybe no have to ask if stranger Okinawan or not Okinawan. Especially if stranger get blue eyes and red hair. But can still be Okinawan, no matter what you look like, if you Okinawan at heart, eh? Yeah. So many memories. I come Hawaii many years ago. Some sad. I'm happy. Want to forget. Some want to remember. Some, even if want to forget.
Hi, Alton, and hi, everyone watching from home. Good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are. We are having some technical difficulties, so Alton and I are going to chat for a little bit before we see more of your stories. So how are you, Alton?
Oh, good. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Hang in there, gang. We'll be back shortly with the actual stories.
You got a little teaser in there. You could hear the voice, but not see. So more soon. Alton, where are you right now?
I am currently in Honolulu, Hawaii. I'm in COVID exile.
Hey. And did you grow up in Honolulu?
I grew up here, and that's the reason why I'm here. I'm taking care of my elderly father right now, and with the current situation, it's just too scary. So yes, but normally I live near Portland, Oregon, but I've been here for several months, and I'll be here until the vaccine comes out. So thank goodness we have technology that we can actually go and converse and tell stories over the internet.
Right. No, it's true. And thank you so much for telling those stories last night about Ben Kuroki and Frank Emmy. That was that history that I've heard, but never in that way. So it was really special to have.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed that. I know you've done a lot of work with the Heart Mountain people, and you actually performed there and things like that yourself. So
right.
Coming from you, that's great.
Have you ever performed those stories at Heart Mountain? Actually,
I've actually never been to Heart Mountain.
Okay.
I've been to Minidoka, but I've never been to Heart Mountain. Okay. It was just one state too far.
That's fair. It's far. It is definitely far. So I have a lot of questions for you, and now I feel lucky that I have two opportunities to ask them to you. But I'm wondering, before we get started, what, your journey, your process of becoming the storyteller that you are, when and how did you begin training? What does that sort of practice or study look like? How does one become a master storyteller, I guess, is my question here.
Well, I don't know. I took a class. I mean, I was 1997. I was bored, and there was a small bookstore. I lived in a small town in Oregon, and there was a small little bookstore, and I knew the owner. And he said, he had, in his newsletter, he said, "Oh, I noticed, hey, you've got this storytelling class. What's that all about?" And he said, "Oh, I had this posted, all this information on it, so I put it in my newsletter, and I published it. And then I got a call from this lady saying, I guess I'm teaching a class." I said, "What do you mean teaching a class?" He said, "Well, I gave you that posted a year ago." So I said, "This is too weird. Let me show up." And I said, I had lots of time in my hands, so I went there and did theater games first night. And then she said, "Okay, everyone go home, prepare a story, come back, tell it next week." And I had done some speech and debate in high school, so I kind of knew a little bit about that. I'd just been to South Africa, visiting some professors of mine who were on sabbatical, and I had a book of South African folktales. So I just picked one, and I came back and I told it. And then she kind of looked at me and said, "Okay, what are you going to do with this talent?" I said, "Nothing. I got a job. I don't care." She was the head of the local storytelling guild. Wow. And she kept after me and I said, okay, I'll tell stories for you guys. So for a year and a half, I told stories with the guild. And then I got interested in other things and did something else for several years. And then, I moved up to Portland, Oregon, and near Portland, Oregon. And everyone kept saying, "Oh, you're a storyteller. You're a storyteller." I'm like, yeah, right. Well, there's a thing called a showcase. It happens in Salem, Oregon, like every other year. Librarians from Washington, Oregon show up. They're your audience. You got 5 minutes on stage. I said, "Great. I got one 5-minute story. That's it." So I got on stage, told my little 5-minute story, and then it's a great experience. I haven't been in front of an audience in a while. Right. Then I started getting phone calls. "Come to my library. Tell stories for an hour. We'll pay you." And I said, "Pay? Really?" "Oh, okay." That's how I could have jumped into this. I had no clue what I was doing. But the storytelling community is a very, very supportive community. I mean, I found mentors and people, experienced tellers who just took me under their wing and taught me what to do. And I learned a lot from these people. And they helped me out. And so that's how I sort of got started in this whole thing. And it's been an amazing journey ever since. And now I've been a professional storyteller now for, 17 years. The last 5 years, I've been a full-time professional storyteller.
Wow. Where is your, because I know you've traveled all over the place to tell these stories. Where do you have a favorite place or a favorite environment where you've told some stories?
Well, the most fun places I've been was, I think I really enjoyed wandering around Thailand. The food is awesome and the people are great. I think some of the most interesting places I've told. I've told stories, in Hawaii and, Singapore. The food's awesome too. So I go to wherever I can. We'll tell stories for food.
Right.
But it's every place I go is different, because every job I take on is a custom job. What do you want? What do you need? What kind of stories are you looking for?
Right.
What are your goals and things like that? So I design everything. I'm lucky enough to have a large enough repertoire to be able to go and tell whatever stories people kind of looking for to hit whatever needs they have. So.
Right. I was thinking about yesterday, the first time I heard you tell a story was at Sunrise Restaurant, an Okinawan restaurant that Sherry, who just did Sunday Supper, took us to with Jane and the whole crew. And you told a story about plantation days in Hawaii.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, which was so much fun because my grandfather grew up on a pineapple plantation. And so I know, some stories that are passed down, and that he was allergic to pineapple. It made his tongue itch, all of that kind of stuff. But it was so fun to hear that history come alive in that way. So I've been a fan of yours ever since.
Well, thank you.
The food was good that night too. So we have a question from Mia Russell, who asks, how did Alton come to this storytelling, and how much research goes into the writing of them? Which is a big question I had as well, especially that Frank Emmy and Ben Kuroki story last night that you told. I mean, that's a massive amount of research, I can imagine.
Yeah, a lot of the historic pieces for sure are a lot of research. Because I scour everything I possibly can to get as many viewpoints as I possibly can, because there's so much stuff out there, and I want to make sure of my facts, because when you go out and tell a historic story, inevitably there's someone in the back of the room goes, nah, it wasn't quite like that.
Right.
So that's going into these things. I know that these are living stories, and that I can't always get all the facts right, and I try to make sure that I correct things as I go along.
Right.
But yeah, lots and lots of research, books, internet, videos, movies, whatever I can get my hands on.
Right.
I try to get direct quotes from these people and try to really understand, what it is. I mean, this is a whole process that I involved. When I first started out, I didn't know what I was doing. But now that I've done it enough, that this is what I do. I really try and immerse myself in the facts, and I want to get as much as I can to understand why these people did what they did, and what were their viewpoints, and try and, because lots of times when I do these stories, I try to tell them in the first person, because lots of times you get that immediacy, and you also be able to go and tell the story from their viewpoint. In some cases, I can't, because the person passes away halfway through the story. Right. And it's important things what happens after they have passed away. Then I have to go and create a narrator, and again, so they can narrate and pull out all those facts that are important to tell the story, and bring out the important pieces of the story. So it does take a lot of work. And then once I've got the script written, I have to tell it to myself, because the way that you write and the way that you speak are two different things.
Right.
And then I have to keep, so until I get the script exactly the way that I speak, and then cramming into my head. I'm reading to myself over and over and over again until I'm creating a little motion picture in my head, and I'm telling you what I'm seeing in my mind's eye. And then once I've got the words down, and then it's like, okay, now how do I embody the story?
Right.
What gestures, what facial expressions, where do I pause? How do I make sure that I'm delivering the lines to get the emotions across? And then, my own personal process, because a lot of these stories, they're, touching something inside of me. So I have to tell them enough to go and make sure that I can bring those emotions up to the point and hold them there, and then immediately switch over to do something else, so that the audience can get that full impact of the emotions. And then, but never have to go into caretaking of me. I never break down on stage, because I have to work at myself and heal myself, so I can tell these stories, so that they can have that full experience of their own emotions and never have to worry about, is he going to be okay?
Right.
So that's important to me anyway.
Wow.
And so once I get all that done, then I start telling it in front of small audiences, or really work the piece so that I can understand how the audiences react. Well, I think this line is really funny, but no one laughs. Okay, well, why? Or else, all of a sudden people are laughing. Why are they laughing? They're not. This is not supposed to be funny. So you have to, work those things so you understand. So, because if you're telling lines and people are laughing, and you tell a line and no one can hear you, then that doesn't quite work. So I have to understand and feel into the audience so I can say, okay, this is where there's going to be a reaction. I have to pause and then deliver the next line. So those types of mechanics have to go into that. And then, even telling these stories, I have to adapt it for this new media. Because normally I'm on stage, I have a microphone, I can use my entire body, my hands, big gestures. But now I've got a little tiny piece here. This is my playing area. And so I have to adjust everything to this. So again, it's a constantly changing thing. But it took me, and those pieces, those Frank Emmy and that Ben Kuroki, I haven't told those stories in years because very few people ask for those stories. And so I had to I created the pieces when these men were still alive. And now they've passed away. So I wanted to go, when you contacted me, I had to go back and redo more research to make sure that I got the facts right.
Wow.
And then going back and reworking the pieces to make sure that I could hit your timeline. Because again, clients say, you got this much time. Oh, okay, I got to go and make sure the pieces are aligned with that.
Yeah.
And then the new pieces, cram it back in my head and say, okay, here we go. So there's a lot of work. I mean, I try to make it look effortless when I'm on stage here or telling stories, but it is a lot of work behind the scenes that you guys don't see.
Right. I'm sure. I mean, as an artist, like the amount of work that you have to put in so that it just looks like you're not trying at all, or that it's so natural. Yeah. And I can imagine when it's this kind of virtual thing where last night you couldn't see any of our reactions, but it still was timed so perfectly, those stories, that I was reacting when you paused, I would laugh, like it worked so perfectly. So it's truly impressive. And I think we are ready to play those videos, though I don't want to cut you off.
No.
Okay.
Time to go back and watch the videos because that's what you guys came to see, and we can talk afterwards.
We will talk afterwards. So yes, if you have questions for Alton, please leave them in the comments and we will be back on the other side. Thank you so much.
Enzore, Irishai, Hellemai. Welcome. So very glad you understand Okinawan, Japanese, Hawaiian, English. I come from Okinawa many years ago. Not go back, not even once. Now I go back. See, passport. Oh, no, not going back for permanently, just going back for visit. Want to pay respects to grandfather's death. Oh, grandfather, great thinker. You know what he said to me before I come Hawaii? Remember Ushi. That's me. Ushi uyunten. Haro. Always find out, he said to me, if stranger, Okinawan or not Okinawan. Very good advice. But grandfather, he not know. Maybe no have to ask if stranger Okinawan or not Okinawan. Especially if stranger get blue eyes and red hair. But can still be Okinawan no matter what you look like. If you Okinawan at heart, eh? Yeah. So many memories. I come Hawaii many years ago. Some sad, some happy, some want to forget, some want to remember, some, even if want to forget, will always remember. Uchinanchu, Okinawan word meaning person from Okinawa. Encompasses everything there is but being Okinawan. See, Okinawa was independent kingdom for hundreds of years, your own culture, language, stories. The Ryukyu Islands, what Okinawa is part of, is located 350 miles southwest of the main islands of Japan. Our ancestors who settled in Okinawa came from China, Korea, Japan, all kind of places like that. That's the reason why Okinawans, they short and hairy. None of the Naichi people, huh? People from the main islands of Japan. See, 400 years ago, Satsuma, which is now Kyushu, invaded Okinawa. Okinawa's never put up much of a fight because by orders of the king, king knew, hey, farmers, no match for trained soldiers. So tell everybody, Nuchidu Takara. Life is the treasure. Life, most important thing. No worry about the invaders. By and by, we take care of them. We go sell them awamore at triple the price. Okinawa came part of Japan, 1879. And after that, Japanese were only taught in school. Even though Okinawa part of Japan for over 100 years, sometimes Okinawa is still treated like second-class citizen. Some people think that Japanese, they stay serious, stay studious, stay formal, no smile. We not like that. We're the fun kind Japanese. Okinawans first came Hawaii, 1900, working the plantations. By 1924, get about 20,000 Okinawans in Hawaii. Now get about 50,000. Okinawans, you know, we get our own culture, our own language, own music, own food, own stories. But being Okinawan, more than just coming from Okinawa, it's about sharing same kind values, attitudes. It's about sharing heart. You can be Okinawan if you Okinawan at heart. Never mind if both your parents, the howlers coming from the mainland, you can still get chance to be Okinawan. Let me go do it for you what I want to go do for my grandkids. I go tell you some stories. You take these stories into your heart. Maybe they help you find your way back down to your roots. You understand what it means to be Uchinanchu. America's entry into World War II. Very difficult time for people who had relatives in both Okinawa and Hawaii. For American citizens caught in Okinawa, the beginning of the war, was really hard to be isolated from family members for many years. One young man who was citizens of both countries, a choice had to be made. The name of that young man was Minoru Teruya. Oh, it's like a dream that happened a long time ago. I was born in 1925. The eldest of like 5 brothers and 4 sisters. My parents came from Yonabaru, Okinawa. And they had a farm with my grandfather in Kailua, Hawaii. Growing up, I went to school in both English school and Japanese school. Yeah? I would do so good in Japanese school that my sensei, my teacher, wanted me to go to Japan, study, come back Hawaii, become Japanese school teacher. But back then, Japanese kids and Okinawan kids all had plenty fiction. You. We're the only Okinawan family at the end of the road. Everyone else was all Naichi. It's Japanese from the main islands of Japan. They kind of looked down upon us. Every day after school, these kids, they go and make fun of me. Call me all kind of names. Like Okinawa Buta Kao Kao, Okinawan pig food. See, back then, I had lots of fiction. After the war, the Japanese and the Okinawans, they kind of get along a little bit better now. But back then, was ugly. Every time, get like 5, 6 of these older kids always making fun of me. I always had to be prepared. I was carrying a rock in my pocket. And my grandfather, after being in Hawaii for 30 years, he let go back Okinawa and he took me along with him. Never let go. But I love my grandfather, so I went. Kind of figured I'd be there for a little while, maybe a year. I was 10 years old. Came day for us to leave. My uncle from Maui came over and said goodbye. The whole Royal Hawaiian band was on the dock playing away. Everybody all happy up. Me, I jump off the ship to swim back to shore. See, my grandfather, when he left Okinawa, he left behind my grandmother and my 2 aunties. They had one tofu business in Okinawa. They'd been separated for 30 years. When he got back there, they throw him his big party, 3-day long party for his 61st birthday, yeah? My aunties, they started taking really good care of me. I started liking Okinawa. But fitting in outside the family, that was hard. See, in school, you can only speak Japanese language. You speak any kind of other language, they give you this Hogen Fuda. This demerit tag you got to wear as mark of shame, yeah? The other kids, they come, they hit me, I turn around, I swear at them in English. I wore one Hogen Fuda every day for months. But the thing that would hurt the most, see, in Hawaii, I was in the 5th grade. But in Okinawa, they put me in the 3rd grade because I'm not going to speak or write Japanese so good. After a while, I really start missing my parents, yeah? Especially my brothers. After I've been there for a little bit longer, I really even start missing my sisters. I mean, we write letters back and forth, but 1941, late part 1941, I was 17 years old. And by that time, I'm not going to go back to Hawaii. The last boat going back from Okinawa to Hawaii left in the summertime. About then, the letters stopped coming from Hawaii. From that time to many years after the war, I never heard nothing from my parents. I mean, everybody knew war was coming. I learned about Pearl Harbor before going to school that day. And at school, everybody was saying, wow, hey, United States and Japan had one big fight. And Japan would bomb Pearl Harbor. And Japan would win. Many big ships had been hit or sunk. Everybody was all happy. Me, I worried about my family, my friends. See, my parents' house was near the Kaneohe Marine Corps base. Years later, I learned that my brother and my sister, they saw the Japanese planes flying. My sisters were waving at the planes as they went by, thinking that maybe I was on one of them. See, nobody knew where I was or what I was doing. In 1943, I went graduate from high school. And all my friends, they all went off to fight in the war. My auntie, she wanted me to go on to college, but I wanted to try it for the Navy. I passed all the written exams. Now came the oral test, yeah? I was sitting there, they tell me, they call my name, so I stand up. Now, you're supposed to stand there with your hands behind your back. I never know. I stand with my hands in my pocket. Oh, they start yelling at me. Oh. Then, with this Japanese officer, he's standing there with his sword up, got the scabbard on, holding him out like this, saying, I got to answer his question. I say, okay. I start answering his question. Oh, he's swinging his sword at me. Oh, I blocked the blow. Ow, sword. And the guy started yelling at me, saying, you don't have Yamato Damashi. Yamato Damashi. That's the fighting spirit of Japan. Fighting spirit of Yamato. Huh? real Japanese would not have blocked the blow. Oh. Kidding. That's when I decided to go volunteer to become a pilot in the Navy. How as an American can I go fight against America? I've been in Japan for 8 years. I couldn't go back to Hawaii. My whole mind and everything was all set for Japan. Been years to hear anything from my parents. Japan was now my country. Japan was losing the war. I became a pilot in November 1944. I mean, a lot of people, they would volunteer from Okinawa. They didn't take very many of us because military didn't think that we were as gung-ho as the people from the main island of Japan. They told us to go and give all of us a piece of paper. They told us to go write our name at the top of the paper. They said, if you like to become Kamikaze, you put 2 circles on top of the piece of paper. And if you didn't want to become a kamikaze, but you'd be willing to serve if asked, then you put 1 circle on top of the piece of paper. And if you don't like become a kamikaze, you just want to become regular Navy pilot, just throw the piece of paper away. The more circles you put on top of the piece of paper, the more likely they're going to select you to become kamikaze. I couldn't go back to Hawaii. Japan was now my country. I figured I was going to die anyway. Might as well take out 1 ship, 1 plane. I didn't think of myself as an American citizen anymore. Of like the 54 guys from Okinawa who all became pilots, about 10 of us became kamikaze. We all became part of these special attack units, the Tokubetsu Kogeki Tai, or Tokotai for short. Now, each group, we had our own special name, but the first group were called Kamikaze, after the divine winds that sunk Genghis Khan's invasion fleet. After that, they were so successful that we all became known as Kamikaze. Divine winds had saved Japan once. Why not again? I mean, wasn't the imperial way the best way? Wasn't the emperor destined to lead the world? And wouldn't the gods favor us, the good and the righteous, with victory? Our instructors kept pounding into our heads the words of the Emperor Meiji, that honor was heavier than a mountain, and death was as light as a feather. He told us it was easy for die. I often thought about my own death. What makes a man unafraid? The courage? And what is courage? Maybe it's the way that we face suffering, pain, and death. If we do so with grace, then maybe we get a better understanding of life, greater reverence. I thought about what would happen to me after my mission. What would the explosion be like? And if I crashed my plane into an enemy ship, I'd probably be taking some enemies with me. to be buried with the enemy. No. To be buried with other Americans. Late one night, I was woken up and told that the Admiral wanted to see me. The Admiral said that I was an American citizen. I didn't have to be a kamikaze. He said he would help me. He said he'd keep me back in Japan where I'd be safe. I just had to wait for the Americans to come. Thought about it. Said, no, I wanted to serve my country. He said, well, if I still wanted to die for the country, maybe I should think about becoming a submarine kamikaze. So in March 1945, I reported to Naval Base in Yamaguchi Prefecture to learn about these one-man kamikaze submarines. They were called the kaiten, or heaven shakers. There was like a torpedo cut in half with this middle section added for the pilot. They had a canvas seat and a hand crank periscope. It was kind of cramped, but you could still stand up inside and look through the periscope. But it had that electric diesel smell, yeah? Because all these batteries were running underwater, and when you're on the surface, you had the diesel engines running on the surface, yeah? I mean, they taught us how to go and read the different gadgets and dials and gizmos, and they said, okay, in training, they lock us in the sub and they tell us, okay, go this way, dive down this deep, and then come up at this time. Every day they gave us a test. We didn't know it at that time. But if we did good, they held us back. If we didn't do so good, they sent us on a mission. Now, about this time in March, that's when the Battle of Okinawa began. I wanted to go. But the captain kept saying, no, you good. We want to put you into a better submarine, a two-man submarine. All I could think about was just going on my mission. I got shipped to the main naval base near Tokyo. Learned about two-man submarines. Now, the class before us, they trained for about a month and they got shipped out to Okinawa, yeah? None of them came back. And these new two-man submarines are called the Kaiten Type 2. We were all proud because each submarine had like about 1.5 tons of dynamite in the nose. Like 4 times as much dynamite than a regular kamikaze plane could carry. Oh, we all felt proud that we could sink an aircraft carrier all by ourselves. See, once we released from the mother submarine, we're supposed to head toward the enemy ships, and then we surface and we look for one, and we dive down to attack them, and we try to ram them. And if we miss, we're supposed to surface, turn around, and try again. Not 2-3 days, I was supposed to be going on my mission. But the war ended. The dropping of the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. On August 15th, we all told, we're going to hear this radio broadcast by the emperor. So 11 o'clock, we all assembled on the field to listen to the radio. The emperor never gave public speeches, but he began talking to us on the radio. Said Japan had lost the war and that they accepted the Allies' ultimatum of unconditional surrender. Stunned silence. I think to myself, wow, war's ended. Finish, pow, end. That's it. All I could think about was, now I can go home Hawaii. Funny, yeah? One moment, all set to go on my mission. The next, all I could think about was going home. Some people kill themselves after hearing the message. But 25 of our officers, all in their mid-20s or so, they went over to a nearby island. And they committed seppuku, suicide, yeah? And I had to go over there and take all the bodies and bring them back. Some of the guys are still alive. But I was told to go douse them all with kerosene and set them on fire, burn them alive. Admiral Nishi, the father of the Tokotai, he also committed seppuku. But before he died, he wrote, "In blossom today and scattered. Life is so like a delicate flower. How could anyone expect the fragrance to last forever?" I was discharged from the Navy in August 1945. I had a cousin of mine who was taking some school children over in Kumamoto and Kyushu. See, in 1943, some school kids from Okinawa got shipped over to Kumamoto. When I arrived, all the kids were so skinny. I used up all my money to buy food for them. When I ran out of money, I traded old uniforms for food. While I was there, I sent a telegram to the Red Cross to my parents in Hawaii, telling them I was still alive. And also, when I was there, I heard that there was a man I knew over in Okinawa, in Kumamoto. He was an army cook. He used to come by a tofu shop, buy tofu. So I found directions to his place, and when I greeted him, he wasn't happy to see me. No smile, nothing. I thought that was kind of odd that he wasn't friendly at all. We sat, we had tea. After about an hour, I left. Never saw the man again. The U.S. Navy sent a ship to Japan to take us to Okinawa. Our Navy people, they're going to treat us like cattle, yeah? They're going to spray us with DDT for lice before we get on the ship. And they go spray us again after we get off the ship. I maybe made my way to Yonabaru with my grandmother and my aunties were all waiting for me. But my grandfather, he wasn't there. They said that he had died in the war. I told my aunties about that I had met this cook that we used to know, an army cook over in Kumamoto. She was shocked. That's when I found out that it was that man who had killed my grandfather. So at the end of the Battle of Okinawa, my grandparents, my aunts, my cousins were all hiding in a cave along with some other refugees and some Japanese soldiers. The Americans were outside calling to them in English saying, we're not going to hurt you. Come out, surrender. My auntie didn't know what they were saying, but my grandfather, who spent 30 years in Hawaii, he could understand English. He was telling them what the Americans were saying. And he believed them. Japanese soldiers didn't believe. And he started telling them what the Americans were saying, and that the Japanese soldiers should throw out their guns and everyone should surrender. One Japanese soldier said, "No, you don't surrender." And my grandfather, he and my cousin, they started walking out of the cave, and then the soldier saying, "Move, move, move, move." And the soldier shot my grandfather and my cousin in the back. Killed him. That soldier is an army cook I met in Kumamoto. This man knew my family. He knew my grandfather. They thought of him as a friend. My aunts, my cousins, they're all standing there watching all this. That night, all my relatives, they left the cave. Years later, I heard that about 4 years after I had met this man in Kumamoto, he went crazy. He died. Eventually, I made my way to Hawaii. 12 years since I seen my family. But I never tell nobody, not friends, not relatives, nothing, that I was in the Japanese Navy. Well, that was Kamikaze. For 30 years, I never tell nobody nothing, except for my wife. The 50th anniversary of the end of the war, the Okinawan people asked some Okinawan officers and some American officers to come for a get-together in Okinawa. One of my friends invited me to come along. And while I was there, this colonel asked me if I had served. I said, yes. I was in the Japanese Navy. And I was Kamikaze. He looked at me and said, young men from all countries want to serve their country. When Brigadier General Paul Chinin, U.S. Army retired, heard my story, he said, soldiers do not make war. Soldiers serve their countries. Soldiers from all of the world, they all respect one another because they've all undergone and faced similar fears, suffering, hardship, and sacrifice. He said that I was serving my country, and they had great respect and admiration for me as a fellow soldier. His words meant a lot to me, gave me the courage to go tell my story. Few men have known war as I have known it. Few men cherish peace as I have cherished it. I've dedicated myself to life. Nuchidu Takara. Life is a treasure.
Over 7,000 Nisei, second-generation Japanese Americans, served with the MIS, the Military Intelligence Service, in the Pacific Theater. They served in combat behind enemy lines, and also
Thank you so much, Alton, for sharing that story with us. We got some wonderful questions during that, and I just want to highlight some of what Sherry wrote about that story in particular and how that was played for Minoru Teruya's family when he passed away. And his family, his son didn't know those stories? Is that what Sherry was saying?
Yeah, I mean, the stories were closely hidden. I mean, he didn't tell anyone about his wartime experience. First of all, because he was an American citizen fighting for Japan, and all of a sudden, in Kamikaze, so actually, sacrificing himself to go and kill off Americans. And so it was a closely held secret. And he didn't tell anyone for years. He told his wife, but he didn't tell anyone else for years. And it wasn't until 50 years later when he went to that military reunion in Okinawa that he actually told someone. And one General Paul Chinin, and people told him that, hey, you're a soldier and we recognize soldiers. And that's when he said, okay, now I can begin telling the story. And I was lucky enough to be able to go and tell his story along with Takejiro Higa's story, which is coming up next. When Pearl Harbor, the Battle in the Pacific, was just redone and they had a brand new amphitheater, they invited me to come and tell their stories. And Sherry was there too, to go and tell the story of these two gentlemen, and in a nighttime performance and these new amphitheaters. And both men happened to be in the audience, and I was able to introduce the audience to these two men.
Wow.
That was, that's the reason why I like telling these stories, to go and for recognizing these people.
Wow. And to pass on these stories. It's so important and powerful. So we are this was just a treat to see your face live. We're gonna go back and listen to Takejiro Higa's story as well, and then probably have time for maybe one more question or comment from you afterwards. So thank you so much, Alton, and here is the second story.
Over 7,000 Nisei, second-generation Japanese Americans, served with the MIS, the Military Intelligence Service, in the Pacific Theater. They served in combat behind enemy lines and also served as interrogators and interpreters, and are credited with bringing the war in the Pacific to a quicker conclusion. The final battle in the Pacific was the Battle of Okinawa, which was fought off the southern coast of Japan. The capture of Okinawa and its 4 strategic air bases would establish it as a base for the invasion of the Japanese mainland. The 3-month-long battle would eventually claim the lives of over 240,000 Americans, Japanese, and Okinawans, and leave the island devastated. Our next speaker was a highly decorated member of that military intelligence service, the MIS. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Mr. Takejiro Higa.
Thank you. I was born in Waipahu, Hawaii. But when I was 2, my mama took me and my sister and my brother to Okinawa to go visit my grandparents. 3 years later, my father came to Okinawa to take us back to Hawaii. But my mama was sick. So it was decided that my sister and my brother would go back to Hawaii with my dad. But I would stay with my mom until she was more better. That was the last time I ever saw my dad. 6 years later, in the span of about a year, both my parents and my grandparents all make died dead, passed away, gone, pow, finish. And I was an orphan. Luckily, I was adopted by my uncle, and he raised me like his own son. So I grew up in Shimabuku village, my grandfather's village. And at home, I spoke Uchi-Naguchi, the Okinawan dialect. But in school, oh, no. Standard Japanese. You get in big trouble, you speak Uchi-Naguchi in school. In 1939, I was 16 years old. And the Japanese government was sending all the young men to go fight in Manchuria. I never like to fight. So I wrote my sister, hey, bring me back Hawaii. So I came back Hawaii. I never know one word English. The first English word I learned was the F word. One day my cousin came and visited me. So I greeted her with the F word. I thought it meant, hello, how are you? I never used the word again until I joined the army. See, after Pearl Harbor, the government would form the 442nd Regimental Combat Team. And that's all the Nisei, the second-generation Japanese Americans. Oh, come join. So both me and my brother, we signed up. They took him. Never take me. About a month later, I get one letter saying, hey, they're forming a new unit of Japanese language soldiers. Would I be willing to serve in the Pacific? Oh, Pacific. I begin thinking about my relatives and my schoolmates. I don't know if I can shoot them, but
I want to prove I'm a loyal American. So I volunteered to join the MIS. In 1943, I graduated from the Military Intelligence Service School. Then, my brother, he transferred from the 442nd into the MIS. And both of us get shipped to Leyte Island in the Philippines. By this time, I went sergeant. I also get nickname Junior. You see, my older brother, he get Howley first name. Warren. Me, I get Takejiro. Oh, Howley officers get hard time pronounce that name. Tucker. Now on, you're Junior. Junior Higa. Junior. I also get my own bodyguard, Captain Fernandez. Someone will finally go figure out that they no can tell me apart from the enemy. So to make sure I don't get shot by my own side, I get Captain Fernandez. And one day, I get a phone call from the colonel. Now, Junior, why don't you go and head on down to G2 headquarters? So I go. And when I walk inside the tent, it's like someone throwing bucket water on top of my head. Because I look and say, get a big blow-up map of the southern coast of Okinawa. I no can say nothing at first. Now, Junior, I understand that you spent some time there in Okinawa. Yes, sir. 14 years. Now, officer go ask me what part of the island I grew up on. That kind of point. He go leaf through these big aerial photographs and he pull out one, he give them to me. Shimabuku village, where I grew up. And I look, my uncle's house, my relative's house, all the houses, still good, no damage. Then he showed me another photograph, this one of Hakka, family tombs on one hillside. Whole island seems to be fortified. Huh? Look at all them gun emplacements. Oh, no, Chigao, you mistaken. This Hakka, tombs, no gun emplacement. See, Okinawans, no believe cremation, no believe burial, yeah? Put body inside Hakka. Hakka, shaped like woman's womb, yeah? Entrance is where baby come out. After that, they make me part of the planning team for the invasion of Okinawa. Was hard, you know. I start dreaming about my relatives, my schoolmates. I no can sleep. Day the invasion, I'm standing on the ship. I can see the coastline of Okinawa. Tears running down my face. We landed about a mile from where I used to go play with my friends, yeah? It was different though. Mountain. No more trees. And across all the fields, keep burning farmhouses. And everywhere, the bodies of dead animals, yeah? Farm animals. Oh, make die dead. Village pow. All I could do was weep. One day, hiking up this trail, and I'm walking along, and I see movement in the ditch right next to the road. Oh, I jump back. I take cover. I slowly get back up and I say, come out, whoever you are. I meant to speak Uchi Naguchi, but I was so scared. I never know what come out. Nobody move. So I start squeezing my trigger. And then I see this leg. It's this thin leg come out. Not can be soldier's leg. And then this old lady come out. Clothes all dirty. And with her, this little girl, like 5, 6 years old, her granddaughter. She wouldn't say. The rest of the family go run away up in the hills. That she no can keep up. So she has to stay with her granddaughter, hide in the ditch. I'm glad I never pulled my trigger. If I did, I think I'd go crazy if I shot that old lady. One day, Captain Fernandez and I, we're driving back to headquarters. And we see this, going through this village, we see this man, he running away from us, this Japanese man. We think, hey, maybe he's a Japanese officer. We stop the Jeep, we get out, we chase him. He ran inside this Okinawan farmhouse. Now, Okinawan farmhouse at the time, you come inside, get pig pen. And right next to the pig pen, get cesspool. Open cesspool. 3, 4, 5 feet long. Narrow, but deep. I come running inside. Right there, there's the pig pen. Right next to him is pool, dirty looking water. I know what that is. I know jump. Captain Fernandez come running in. He don't know. He jump. He miss. We had to burn his fatigues. One day, I get this call from headquarters. Hey, come down and interrogate these 2 Japanese prisoners of war. I walk inside the tent. All these guys, poor guys. The uniforms all rags and filthy. I feel, these poor guys. I sit down. I go, okay, name, rank, serial number. Huh? Hey, these guys, I recognize the names. What village you guys from? Huh? What school you guys went to? Yeah. These are my classmates. Was there a teacher named Shonsu in your school? Hey, how you know that? Well, I graduate of U.S. Military Intelligence School. No lie to me. I know everything about you guys. Was there a guy named Takejiro Higa in your class? Hey. How you know him? Yeah, I think there was. Yeah, I think he went away. Yeah, he went Hawaii. He went away a long time. Yeah, there was, but he went Hawaii a long time ago. We don't see him. I look these guys right in the face. Hey, you don't recognize your own classmate? These guys, they look at me. Then they start to cry. Hey, why are you guys crying? They tell me they thought that after we finish interrogating them, we're going to take them to the other side of the hill. Shoot them. But now that they know that I'm with the Americans, I think their lives are safe. It hit me hard. If I didn't go Hawaii when I was 16, maybe I was sitting with them. Maybe somebody else asking me questions. Still get chicken skin, goosebumps every time I think about that. After that, we go grab each other's shoulders, have ourselves a good cry. Okinawa get plenty caves, you know. And this is where all the thousands of Japanese soldiers and Okinawan civilians all went go hide. All these caves all over the island. See, a lot of them believe the Japanese propaganda, that they get torture and death following capture by the Americans. So a lot of them decide to commit seppuku, suicide, rather than be captured. So they go ask us to come and try and coax them out of the caves. So I show up with my bullhorn, and I go tell them who I am, and my name, who my parents were, and even though I was born in Hawaii, I grew up in Okinawa. And the Americans, they're not as bad as the propaganda would allow them to believe. For the most part. And I said the same, I still do that in standard Japanese, And then I still do the same thing over and over again in Uchinaguchi. In one cave, had like 200 people inside, All them in groups of 15, 10 people, Each group get hand grenade. They go and commit suicide, They hear me, they surrender. At least that's what Mrs. Tawara told me. 50 years later, she come up to me and say, because of you, I am here today. Although I was part of the planning team for the invasion of Okinawa from the very beginning, I never fired one shot. I used my bullhorn, my notebook, and my voice to help the people I grew up with.
Thank you so much, Alton. And I saw you were responding to the question of if you speak Uchinaguchi.
No, I don't. But Sherry and Francis Nakachi Sensei helped me with the pronunciation of the words, because it was very important to us that we include those words, because they were so important to the pieces. I'm typical American. I don't speak any other English language except English fluently. I know smatterings of words in other languages. So, it was very important for us to go and make sure that we got the pronunciations of those key words and poems in Uchinaguchi.
Wow. So impressive. And thank you so much also for answering questions as we were going. That's so wonderful. I do want to be able to point folks, if they want to hear more of your stories or see more of your work, is your website and your DVDs, is that the best place for at this point?
Yeah, right now I think www.altonchung.com. I put my entire schedule out there, well, my Zoom schedule anyway.
Right.
And yeah, if you're interested in purchasing DVDs and things like that, CDs, it's all available on the website.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, my complete schedule is there. I think I've got, I got a few shows coming up, I think, like next few weeks. They're
Okay.
library shows, I think, but that's what's kept me.
That's awesome. You've adapted so well to this, this virtual world we're living in right now. But
We really need to. I mean, it's we live in very interesting times,
right.
and I think I love technology, and I love I'm a geek at heart, and I love all these things we get to go and learn. But being able to go and get stories out to new people, especially now, because it's so important, because a lot of us are, we're trapped in our little bubbles, and
Right.
We're so used to going out and talking to people and socializing, and now there's that, we really can't do that right now.
Right.
And if you do, you're masked up, so all you have is your eyes.
Right.
So it's to be able to see someone and speak to them and have interaction with them and learn new things. I think that's really important right now, and just to feel connected to a world outside of your immediate ambit.
Right. That's so true. And before we wrap up, are you working on anything new? Any new stories or?
Yeah, there's all kinds of things I'm working on right now. I think the big one I'm working on right now is the Filipino veterans of World War II. That's a very I mean, the more I dig into it, the more amazing this story is.
Yeah.
The Philippine Scouts, you've got the guerrillas, and you've got the 1st and 2nd Infantry battalions coming from the United States later in the war. But what happened to these Filipino veterans? What promises were made? How these promises broken, and
Right.
how eventually they did get some redress.
Right.
That's a very important story, and it's not as well documented as the Japanese American veteran stories, and so it's harder and harder to go and try and find firsthand accounts.
Right.
And, but that's a big story I'm working on right now.
Oh, that's awesome. And I think when I was at the Salinas Rodeo Center a couple of years ago, and there's a monument that talks about how after it was used as an assembly center for Japanese Americans, and then the Filipino regiment came in and used it as their training ground. And I think that's kind of stuck with me as just wow, these histories of, very layered, literally in these spaces of incarceration for some, military training for others. But great. I'm looking forward to that. Jane told me to ask you about that, that story. So thank you, Hirata.
And just for Jen, yes, I'm also working on some new ghost stories.
Next time we want to hear some ghost stories. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Alton. It's been so lovely to have you and your stories this weekend. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing your work with us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I hope people enjoy the stories. These are, very important, because these stories really, as you say, tell us who we are and the differences of layers of, and it's not that long ago that, that these things actually happen. And the people who first experienced what is happening, they're all going. And once they go, all we have are the stories to tell about them.
Right. Well, thank you for all that you do to share these stories and save these stories for so many communities. It's wonderful.
My pleasure. Thank you much.
Thank you. And thank you, Kimiko and Royce, for running our tech in the back. Thank you, Alton, for being here. Thank you all for joining on YouTube. We have so loved your questions, and have a wonderful Sunday evening.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Take care.